Welcome to MotorInc First. Today we are going to talk about the electric vehicle that is about to storm the market and now the ICs won't sell anymore and then No, hang on a minute. I may have overcommitted to that. Karthik has just returned from...
Take a guess, man. EV.
Bengaluru.
Yes, sir.
From the electric vehicle launch capital of India, Bengaluru. Did you go to Nandi Hills?
Yes, sir.
To the capital... to the geographical center of where electric vehicles are launched in India, which is the outskirts of Bengaluru, where Nandi Hills is. And he has driven the car which has a name so long it needs punctuation marks to finish the thought. The Kia Carens Electric, the Kia Carens Clavis electric vehicle.
Correct. That is absolutely right. That name is too long.
Okay, and how was it?
Good.
Ooh, that's a good start.
Yeah.
How good?
So if you think EV, E stands for exciting, this vehicle's not it.
Okay.
But if you're looking for a car that is good and happens to be electric, this is today the best pick that you can get in the market today.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to feel too normal for people. Because it's going to seem just like the Carens Clavis, which was launched very recently, right? And the good thing about being in Bengaluru around Nandi Hills was that it was a very easy reference because that's where the drive for the ICE version was also.
Okay.
So the same roads, same conditions to drive the EV again, you could easily compare it to the petrol and diesel versions and get a sense of where it's at. And so it's really easy to say that this is the best Carens Clavis.
So if we were to discuss just the difference the electric powertrain makes, we are done. They can just watch the Kia Carens Clavis MotorInc First.
If we talk about the powertrain, if we talk about the suspension, then you will get the complete picture. The rest of the car is the same.
Okay, so let's gloss over everything that is the same so that we can skip all of that and then go to the meat of the thing as soon as possible. So comfort, whatever, just let's get through that quickly. Features, equipment, whatever.
Okay, so before so I will raise two questions which I had before I drove this car, and they will go into this conversation, which is why I'm raising them. First and foremost, the Carens is a car that we respect massively for its 7-seat abilities. So the question was, is it going to be as good in the EV version? Because we've seen how the floor heights change.
Correct.
And that can impact the comfort and therefore change the equation altogether. And the second thing, which was an interesting thing, was that this is effectively the Creta Electric, the electric powertrain, right? It's the same battery pack, the same sizes. You have the two battery packs. One is a 40-something kilowatt hour and the other is the 51 kilowatt hour, which is what we've driven. And the similar motor specs, 136, 170, the specs will be here. So it's the same powertrain. This is a larger vehicle. This has more seats and therefore by extension, it is also the heavier vehicle than the Creta Electric. But Kia are claiming that it has more range than the Creta. Slightly, but the point is, it does offer more range.
It must be the aerodynamics.
Oh, not bad, not bad. That is one component of it. So first, the body in white. So body in white is basically the shell of the car without anything else on it. No wheels and powertrain. So
it's what you normally see just before they have pictures of it going into the paint booth for dipping, roughly that.
Correct. So that would be what would be the chassis, right? So I asked them what is the change to the chassis from ICE to EV. So, and as should have been done, when they made that update for the facelift, they said we integrated all the changes that we needed to do there and then. So the difference between ICE and EV is practically
no chassis difference.
Yeah. What is different is where you're right, and that is the aerodynamics. They have a different wing at the rear. They have slightly different skirting. They have different wheels, and those wheels look nice for once. And all of that has added to the efficiency of this package.
Right.
The other thing that they said, which is interesting, is that they have tweaked the software, the BMS, the motor software, everything, to optimize the efficiency so that they can get that longer range.
So, जो Hyundai ने नहीं किया, Kia ने किया.
Kia ने किया, correct.
And okay, just to clarify the point, will Kia share these optimizations with Hyundai and help the Creta improve too, or do their brother-sister brands, but it's like most brother-sisters, they don't really work with each
No
other.
way.
Got it.
It's always a question of who manages to pull something off that is a little bit extra over the other,
Correct.
right? That game of one-upmanship is there. So they are particularly proud of the fact that they have optimized it differently so that it can manage this better range. So there must be a knock-on effect, right?
Yeah.
In the way the vehicle rides, the performance of it. And that was my expectation as well. So I asked, what is the acceleration figure? Okay, the difference between the Creta EV and the Clavis is half a second, 0 to 100, which is, it's real world, really no value, but it just tells you how the performance can be. Half a second is really not much, which means it's still quicker than a Creta N-Line, right? So if you have to think of it that way, it's still a quick vehicle. My other thought then was that this tuning means that they would have softened the throttle so that they can get better
So
range.
the overall discharge rates are always running lower than you expect, right?
So that, and it also in keeping with the character of this being a family MPV and that being an SUV, so it could be a little bit more athletic, and this can be the calmer vehicle. I was told that when I drive it, I will not be able to tell the difference. And the second thing was the floor height. So this is all the discussions before we drove it, right? The floor height increase is less than 1 centimeter.
Okay, so the battery pack sticks at the bottom.
Oh, again, great point. Because that was one of the conversation points with the Creta EV,
Yep.
right? That the battery is so obvious. No, it doesn't. And this has more ground clearance. This has 200 millimeters of ground clearance. So Kia's found this very sweet balance of setup.
Okay.
Where they managed to make the battery stay hidden. You have to really go and peek underneath to see it. It doesn't stick out. The floor height, they said that they've managed it, that it's imperceptible. So now, next day, get into the car. And the first thing is that you think, yeah, I really can't tell. It's not the first thing that strikes you. Because if you
If you thought the Clavis was lavish, then this Clavis will also be lavish.
there is still a slight, there is a small asterisk, there is there. But when you think about the Creta Electric, where the floor height made a significant difference to its all-round ability because its backseat does feel compromised.
Right.
That is not the case here. What you end up feeling with the Clavis Electric is, it will be imperceptible. You spend time with it, you'll be comfortable. But that you pushing the front seat a little bit further back, the middle seat a little bit further back, it then impacts your experience in the third row.
Got it.
So the kind of flexibility that you had with the Carens, which was just all 3 rows, adults could sit even in the third row of the Carens. You can do this here as well, but it won't feel as
So there's some 5, 7, 10% difference.
correct.
Got it.
So if you accept that, this is as good as the regular Carens, despite that floor height increase. This is easily the best pick as an EV for families in India today because of this ability to seat 3
Got it.
while being electric, right?
To expand on that idea, city use versus traveling, how would the picture change?
City use, no problem at all. You'll
Right.
manage.
But that even the Creta Electric does reasonably well.
Even in the Creta Electric, like for city, like for taller people, you'll automatically think that that's going to feel quite knees up.
So that's not an issue with the Carens at all.
No.
Got it.
No.
And out on the highway?
Out on the highway, we spent time in first, second, and third rows. And even in the third row, with a slight compromise in terms of space. So that means pushing the middle row seat a little bit further forward than I would have.
As if the more important passengers are ahead and you are the least important passenger. Okay.
Right? So I had to accommodate a little bit, but still usable. So if you say, I want to do Mumbai-Pune in the third row,
Okay.
I don't have an issue.
But if you wanted to go from Mumbai to Bengaluru?
Yeah, so then obviously there'll be everybody in each row if you have adults in all 3 rows
Yeah,
with that scenario. That means you will feel that slight difference in space.
Got it.
But it's not going to be to the point where you're going to say that I don't want to do this. You'll say that I'll rotate, something like that. And if it's kids in the back, no
No
problem.
stress. Got it.
Because like the regular Carens, this is well equipped in all 3 rows,
Yep.
right? Cup holders, USB sockets, all of that. So feature-wise, it is the same as the regular Carens. And this is another interesting thing here.
No, not the regular Carens. The Carens Clavis.
Carens
Because the
Clavis.
Carens is a whole different thing now.
Yeah, there is the old Carens is there in a couple of variants. So this is the Carens Clavis that we're talking about. Thanks, Shumi. So it is as well equipped as that. The only additional features that it has are specific to its EV use case, which means it has paddles on the steering for setting regen, and it also has a single pedal drive mode. Um, but the good thing is that while it is more obviously more expensive, let's say, than the ICE versions, the mid variants, the low battery pack is actually quite competitively priced, and they've compared to the Clavis itself. I'm not comparing it to anything else because the value equation part of it is the one tripping point in this story because of what everybody else is doing.
Okay.
But they have sweetened the package by offering a bit more equipment in those lower variants compared to the ICE versions.
Examples.
Like the screen sizes, like a larger screen.
So instead of 12, you have a 14, or instead of
No,
14.
12. 12 is there, but what would not be available in the equivalent variant for the ICE is available in this spec of it, like that. They've done those kind of things. The one thing that has gone missing, and I really, really like that feature, was the cool cup holders that it had up front and in the back. Those are gone because now what it has is V2L. So at the back where you have the controls for the aircon for the second row, you used to have that place to store cans or whatever, and it would be cooled. That is gone because now you have a 3-pin socket over there. So
Got
they
it.
have the wiring coming through, so they couldn't do that. And up front, they don't have the cool cup holders anymore because now they have the floating armrest and console. So it's opened up space to store stuff below.
Got it.
But you've lost those cup holders, which were cool, and I used to love that feature.
So they're cup holders, but not cool.
Correct. So in terms of feature deletion, this is the only feature deletion that I could find. Rest, everything is as is with the...
Given how weak India's coffee culture is, I don't think that's a big loss. If you know exactly where the joke has originated, please do leave us a comment.
So, so that was the features part of it. That's the space part of it, and then we come to the driving part of it. First, you get out, you start driving. Any thought that this is mild mannered in the way it drives is off. It is not. It is plenty good to drive. Whether you want to drive smoothly, you want to drive easily, you want to drive quickly, it can do all of that. It has those 3 drive modes: eco, normal, and sport. In each of the modes, it's easy to drive.
Okay.
If you choose to be rowdy feeling, if you get, and you accelerate hard, it's quick. And you will feel enough of the torque coming on that you get that little bit of torque steer and stuff like that.
Should that not have been tuned out?
So I guess just go to a calmer drive mode. And I'm thinking in a fully loaded vehicle scenario, it will also be more settled.
Sure.
So those parameters, right now we'll have to see when we drive it further. But as of now, that will require you to drive in a manner that is rowdy, right? It requires you to be that impatient kind of driving. That's when you feel it. It's not the default.
Impatient driving, nobody does anymore, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? There are no impatient drivers
Everybody
left, right?
is well behaved and mature. So so the performance of the car does not feel dull. The performance of it does not feel lacking. The efficiency side of it was the other thing. And to me, concerns that this thing's range would be lower than, let's say, the Creta do not stand as of now. Because I consistently saw it managing 7 kilometers per kilowatt hour, even higher than that. So that means the 350 range is easy. You can go up to 400 as well. I drove near about 200 kilometers with the car, and you'll see the readout. The overall was 7 kilometers per kilowatt hour, something like that. And this is a mix of usage again.
Right.
We did those B roads
Correct.
around Nandi Hills.
Yeah, and they're not flat, so they're not kind to electrics, these roads.
And we drove highways, which is also there, spent, I think, about 70, 80 kilometers just cruising on the highway at 100. And again, competent. I think performance side of it is something that you really don't
Okay, so
think
this is an interesting thing. Let's go to motoring circles and discuss this. We are seeing electric vehicles being created as cooler vehicles than ICEs as a way to sell them. But Kia Carens Clavis EV is taking a slightly different approach, where they're saying it's okay, it's normal. And so far, everything he's told me seems to suggest that this is just completely regular car that happens to have an electric powertrain. Tell me in motoring circles, I'll put a post on my profile or Karthikeya's profile, we'll see, where the idea is that coolness required to convince you to get an electric? Or is the fact that it feels as good as a normal ICE EV a powerful asset to this car? I'd like to know your perspective on this.
It's a good question.
This will be on circles. Let's invent a hashtag for it. Let's call it normal is not boring. Oh, we have to have an EV in it. Okay, normal is not boring EV. Now we have the same length as the Kia Carens Clavis EV.
So yeah, coming back to the performance, whether it was the low speed usage, smooth. Whether it was the highway, punchy. Whether you want to just chill, calm with it, no problem.
Nice.
Because again, here, one of the things, and the interesting thing was that it's not running on EV specific tires, but the sound characteristics was so good. Like it was a calm and relaxed cabin.
As quiet as ICE EV or even quieter than ICE EV?
I think it's better.
Okay.
I think it's better. And that's why I'm bringing up the tires, because generally that is the thing that ends up intruding into the cabin, right? And I looked at them, they're the same MRF, Eco Treads, whatever.
So which means what they said about the chassis having accounted already for the EV function and the ICE EV function is already done, and therefore all of this equipment is roughly the same.
You remember when we drove the Clavis ICE also, we had said that they benchmarked internally and said that the best car in the family up till now has been the Sonnet,
Right.
and which we've always found to be impressive on this count. They said this is better than that. This experience now says that probably is.
So how did they account for the weight differential between the battery pack, which will be what, for 500, 600 kilos?
So they, now this is becoming a thing with more and more manufacturers. They don't want to give out weights. And this is happening with many different brands. So I do not know the exact weights.
But there will be let's assume a difference of 500 kilos.
Let's say, 400, 500 kilos.
No, because if you're assuming, I can also say 9,000 kilos, but I'm not willing to be unreasonable about it. So 500 kilos.
Yeah. So the weight aspect of it. So the only change in the body is to the floor pan, where it's now that flat floor, so that the battery is sitting closer to it. The other thing that is changed to accommodate this and make this a richer experience is the suspension setup. So this suspension setup, I asked them, is there a baseline that they used from the ICE versions? They said no. And mechanically, one of the differences is that it has special bushes for the front suspension. Now with the EV, they've also applied it to the rear.
Got it.
And the reason why, for me, this is the default for the Clavis family is this suspension setup. Because if you remember when we drove the Clavis, the ICE, we found two very different characters between the petrol and the diesel. The diesel was the comfort-oriented one, and the petrol felt like the one which was more driver-focused, and that's a strange thing to say for an MPV, but that is what it was. And the EV comes and sits in between those two.
Right.
It has some of that control that the petrol has, and it has the plushness of the diesel. So it ends up sitting in between.
Very nice.
Which means, does it feel as porous or as granular as the petrol did? No, it doesn't. But does it feel harsh like the petrol did over the broken roads and those same roads?
Also no.
No. It actually takes the bad stuff just very, very well. You don't get the crashing feeling. You don't feel anything coming into the cabin. And the sound characteristics because of that is also smoother, calmer. So it just felt like such a sophisticated and mature car to be in.
Very cool.
Even in the third row. Even in the third row. Because generally what we find is that the further back you go,
the worse it gets.
The worse it gets in terms of the ride characteristic, also in terms of the sound characteristic.
Yeah.
And the third row was fine. There was no problem there.
Nice.
So the suspension gave it that balance for being able to travel in comfortably. And the other thing, obviously, the sensor there. So I said, okay, let's see if does that mean it's going to become ungainly when it has to handle winding roads? So we went up Nandi Hill. It's surprisingly clean and positive.
Yeah, so I wanted to point out something here which is useful. Kartikeya has a video on the app which will be listed as Ask MotorInc, I think W31. It will be a light orange colored icon. In that he's explained, and he did it very quickly, so you might have missed it, so I'm highlighting it. He said 19-inch rims automatically aren't a problem in the context of the Harrier Electric. And the reason why they aren't a problem is because there is a sweet spot for a wheel size and a chassis design. And for that car, 19 happened to be right in the sweet spot. If that car went to 24s, it would feel terrible. If it went down to 15s, it may also feel terrible. And what he's saying here is exactly the same thing. He's saying the petrol and diesel are at the bookends of what the Carens Clavis can pull off in terms of suspension, etc. But when they add extra weight at the battery, the way they've accounted for it makes the Clavis EV work really well too. And it's a chassis design and engineering thing. If Kia were to be lazy about it, in theory, they could have said, we've designed the chassis that takes care of ICEs and EVs both, and we'll basically tweak the suspension, change the wheel sizes, and electric. And because they didn't do it, they're able to achieve this balance.
Yeah.
If you watch that Ask MotorInc on the app, you will see that there is an idea in there that equipment by itself, so a thumb rule that says, oh, 17-inch wheels don't work in India, it's only true if that chassis sweet spot is not for those wheels. Another example from the motorcycle world, when the FZ first came out, a 140 section rear for a 150cc commuting kind of motorcycle was considered ridiculous and stupid. But Yamaha's chassis design began with the idea that Indians like fat rear tires. So the 140 was specced in at the beginning, and then the chassis was built to accommodate the extra weight and load and whatever of that tire, and therefore the finished product actually worked really well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's a super point that they've managed to find that sweet spot in the same platform. And on the flip side, to give them a bit of grief, I feel like now that the focus is changing so much towards EVs, that those were probably not given as much attention as this car.
Sure.
Because if they can manage this with a heavier car, then 100% they should be able to manage it with a lighter car.
But why would they, Karthik? ICEVs don't sell. Where are the numbers to say that the petrol and diesel cars are selling in good numbers? Right, the market has flipped, right? Electrics are the king of the hill,
I think
as it were.
So this is what is happening. Like the attention is so skewed towards that, and I feel like what has happened with the Syros. Syros has turned out to be such a confused product, and we ended the view story, which you will see on the app for the Syros, saying that this feels like beta, and all the issues with the Syros in terms of how the powertrain is
Beta
working.
as in under testing, not alpha, beta, sigma and all of this, okay? I'm just saying, today you just...
Yeah, Gen Z lingo. We've gone there over that, so not in those terms, but it's beta in the sense that you can see that as an EV. Now, if I were to take the Carens and apply those rules to the Syros, suddenly that product is going to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of space that it has, the practicality in that footprint that it offers at standstill. Now, when you take it and put in this kind of sophistication of suspension, this kind of ease of driving of the powertrain, which is just so flexible. Now you look at that car and think that, okay, that's going to make a good amount of sense. That will attract people, and that is something that you'd look forward to as a solution for people. So I think manufacturers are they're getting stretched.
Yeah.
So they have to choose where do you pay more attention to, how much attention goes where, and somewhere this feels like this was the car that they were really focusing on, and everything else kind of filtered out of that. So they would have designed that saying that the EV comes and the EV should look like something, and that got applied to the facelift for the ICE as well.
So the Kia Carens Clavis EV is a fine Kia because Kia decided that this car needed a lot of attention and work, and you can see what it achieved.
Yeah.
But now you're feeling in hindsight and you're interpolating that maybe the Syros lost that attention to the Carens EV.
No, not the Syros. So Syros, I'm saying like
An example.
There will be a Syros EV.
Oh.
It will come. It will come, I think, early next year. And when it does, suddenly all the issues that are there with the Syros today, right? Most of the issues, not all the issues, because it has some strange ergonomic issues also in the cabin. But in the way it drives, what are right now
It'll
its
just click
deal
more
breakers.
into place.
The deal breakers should be wiped out.
Got it.
With the transformation to EV.
Right.
So I think that is the strange situation we are in today. That a lot of people, if you told me that I can get this suspension setup with the turbo petrol of the Clavis.
And by that he means the feeling that you got from the car, not the actual physical units.
Correct. And you'd be like, yeah, forget it, go for that. But today, if somebody's going to ask me, I'm going to say, can you get the EV? Because that's a really sweet balance. If it doesn't work for your lifestyle, because let's say you're traveling a lot outside and charging will be a question mark, and you are unwilling to make those adjustments, then sure, then pick the diesel or pick the petrol, depending on which thing works for you better. So this feels like a sophisticated family MPV.
Right.
So They've introduced a new color with this satin white looking thing. It looks really cool as well. So aesthetically, it's the same as the Clavis except for this color and the DRL up front, which is that connected style, which is the usual thing for all these cars.
No, so I interrupted you. So you were talking about going up the Nandi Hill in the car and you were like, handling was surprisingly, what did you say, accurate?
Positive is how I would put it. Like you think about something this tall, now with the additional weight, you again get the thought that this will not be precise. You will have to manage it more. Again, no. This is something that I'm getting surprised with. This happened with the Harrier as well, right? When we spoke about it. But the Harrier is a bigger vehicle. So you expect that it will manage some of that because the width makes a big difference because it gives it a nice footprint. And this is tall. So again, good. I think the steering being precise, being predictable is what makes a lot of this more comforting.
Sure.
So that was driving it up and quickly you can drive it. You expect it to get a lot of movement. It doesn't. It stays quite in line, the front and the rear.
This is in rowdy mode.
Rowdy mode. This is irresponsible mode, I would even say. Right? Even in that. How will it behave with more load? We don't know. We will see that. But the one thing that has become a recurring complaint with these cars is the brakes. And it's not the braking power that's the issue. It's that, again, that pedal travel, which is...
As long as the car's name.
Again, you just... It's like literally like an on-off button which you're doing with the pedal. You just have to and this I'm talking specifically about hard braking, right? When you want to brake hard, there's really no class, so to speak, that a driver can put in. It's just use the force and let the system do its thing.
Got it.
So repeat braking, hard braking also, it's not that there was an issue. It worked fine. But just the connect between the driver and the sense of control in those kind of scenarios is slim. And talking about control, this also has regen. And like we saw on the Creta, it has 5 levels of regen, so to speak, because 0 all the way up to single pedal, and there are 3 regen levels in between. Single pedal, like we saw with the Creta, also was well calibrated. So you can just drive it on single pedal. And I looked up further about that China thing when we spoke about the Harrier. So China is banning it in the sense that it cannot, single pedal drive mode is getting banned in China. What it actually means is that single pedal drive mode cannot be on by default
It's an
in
opt-in.
a car.
Okay.
Every time the car comes on, the driver has to opt in to say, I want to use the single pedal drive mode. And like you said, the reason for that is exactly that. What's happening is people are getting so used to using just the single pedal drive mode.
Correct.
That in case of emergencies, they don't have the reaction time. And some of the reports that I read, the news pieces that I read, that the other cases were, in case of emergencies, people were so out of tune with the idea of braking that when they went for an emergency brake,
They pressed whichever pedal came to hand.
accelerator,
Yeah.
right? So that is behavior, right? Because it's become second nature. So you're just using one pedal, so your reflex is also two. So you're actually accelerating into an accident.
I'm telling you, we need autonomous driving here. ASAP. People can't even brake anymore.
Yeah. So
And this is not a Chinese people thing, okay? This is 100% habit thing. If you're not used to touching the brake pedal because you use single pedal drive mode all the time, in an emergency when you have to hit that pedal, you don't have the muscle memory left to do it with.
yeah.
That's it. That's all it is.
And frankly, I get it because I've been just using single pedal. And because we are constantly evaluating and saying shift, like you can see sometimes the hesitation saying that, why?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. To give you my example, I don't use a lot of rear brake on a motorcycle under normal circumstances. And there's 2 weeks at the beginning of the monsoon where I have to relearn the muscle memory of bringing the rear brake back.
Correct.
When I put a pillion on the motorcycle, suddenly the rear brake becomes a much more effective brake than normal. And again, I don't remember to use it for the first kilometer or two. When I have to remember saying, oh, there's somebody sitting behind me, I need to bring that brake in further. And on my Ducati with the panniers put a lot of load on the back, and there's electronic suspension, so the preload compensates for it. But when you make a hard stop with the panniers in, if you're not touching the rear brake, the bike becomes unstable. And it would do this. And then after the third stop, I would remember saying, if I have to stop like that,
Use both.
I must use the second brake because I never remember to do it.
Right. So yeah, that's the story about the single pedal getting banned in China thing, and it's still here. And of course, you have to every time. Even in this, actually, the system is such that let's say I have used single pedal, so it says max on the screen when it's single pedal, and
As in region max.
yeah, and you stop the car. When you switch it back on, it'll go to level 3. It'll go to the highest.
One level below max.
Yeah. So it forces you again to say that I want to go into.
Which is just a paddle thing.
Yeah. The state that I understand is you're driving, you have the throttle on, and then you pull on the paddle. So then it'll engage, and it gives you an audio alert also saying that now you've gone up one more level. So, and you can use the paddle to brake as well, which is also something that I like, because if you're in level 3 and you want to.
No, but
come
even
to
hard braking, it's a binary thing, then the paddle is just as binary, no?
Correct. So, sorry, say that?
If you have zero feel on the brake in a hard brake and you're using a brake that is either off or on, that's exactly what the paddle does. So
Yeah, that is there. So in not emergencies, like when you're casually driving and you're, let's say, in level 3 and you want to go to max region, you can just use the paddle. But yeah, regular brakes for emergencies always, of course. You're not going to rely on this. Which leaves us with the granularities of the battery pack. It's an NMC battery pack. Like on the Creta, it's not lithium ion. Is it a problem? No.
NMC stands for what? Not made in China.
I don't think that. So this one, actually, that applies to this one. This one doesn't come from China. Yeah, this one doesn't come from China.
I love it when I'm discussing cars with Karthik and I get things right from the wrong direction.
For this one, it applies.
It's a Korean battery pack, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And the warranty on this is 8 years.
So lifetime.
Not lifetime. See?
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, lifetime is 15 years.
Yeah, lifetime is 15 years.
So if your car has a lifetime warranty, you're dead in 15 years.
So we're going to put the exact details of all those numbers and all over here. But the idea is, should this be a stumbling block for you? We've discussed this earlier. It's an NMC pack. Should that be a stumbling block? Would it stop me from buying one? No, it wouldn't, because we know how it performs. We know what it's likely to deliver in terms of your usability. And if anybody is buying an EV today, let's be clear, there are two mindsets in which you buy an EV. One is lifestyle. So the satisfaction that you draw from having a EV
Correct.
pays you back for whatever expenses that you have.
Yeah, so think of it as you're paying for the cool factor more than anything else.
Correct. And the other is the utility side of it, where you're saying my usage is so much that an EV is the obvious way to go, and I can manage the charging, in which case, no matter what happens to your car, you've recovered the cost
Correct.
that you've sunk into it, right? And like we discussed on the Harrier EV thing, even if it is a 15-year warranty on the battery pack, in the 15th year, if the battery pack has to be replaced, will you get this chemistry then? 15 years for battery chemistry is going to be like a century in evolution of technology, right? So don't get hung up on those things. This is a good car to have in your house if you want a 7-seat, easy to drive, practical car. And so luggage is the same as a regular car. It's no difference there. With the third row, it's 200 something liters. When you fold that down, and it's split folding, so you can fold one seat down, fold both down. You have plenty of luggage space. And the only thing here which you will not get, which you do get in the Clavis Ice, is the captain seats. You do not get them here. And,
why not?
Because Kia's going through the pain of consumers, buyers are not asking for the captain seats. And they understand that those captain seats are so good that they themselves are surprised that consumers are not buying.
But you see Ertigas with captain seats all the time.
The XL6, right?
Yeah, sorry, XL6.
Yeah, exactly. So the XL6 sells like, I don't know, whatever, 3,500, 4,000 units a month. And they're saying that for the Carens Clavis or the Carens, it's a very small number. It's way smaller than that. And to me, it just doesn't make any sense, because somebody is buying a Maruti Suzuki, you're typically thinking is from the practical mindset and all of that. So the Ertiga obviously sells more, but the XL6 selling so much is, and the Carens not selling is like, what? And the Carens' backseat is so good with the captain seats. So they're saying that if tomorrow enough people ask for it, we can get it, no problem. But as of now, they don't want to go down that route if people are not wanting one.
Fair enough.
So that's the one feature actually. Otherwise, that's missing on the EV, which is there in the ICE. Right. Finally, price.
No.
Okay.
Charging, more details in terms of kilowattages and fast charging and all of this.
Correct. So this thing has home chargers. You have two options: a 7 kilowatt, or 11 kilowatt. The difference between the two in terms of cost, we'll put the prices up here, is about 8,000 rupees. I think the default is go for the 11 kilowatt. That's a very small amount. DC fast charging is 100 kilowatts. And the Creta, when it was launched, they said it has 50 kilowatts and they would unlock 100 kilowatts later.
Okay.
This is already coming with 100 kilowatts unlocked.
Got it.
DC fast charging. So which means 20 to 80 is going to be in whatever, 25, 30 minutes, something like that. I'll put that up. Basically, it is fast charging if you're talking about it in minutes and not in hours. Whereas if you're charging at home, it's going to be 8-9 hours, whatever it is.
Yeah. And if you're intending to buy the Clavis EV, we've warned this setup before and we'll warn you again. Remember that when you're out on the highway and you see a fast charger listed as a, let's call it 120 kilowatt fast charger, that is the total capacity sometimes of the entire station. Which means if you're the only car parked there and charging, you do get full benefit. And your car can take 100 of those kilowatts, or 20 kilowatts is spare. But if there are 4 cars connected, 120 gets split 4 ways and your charging actually slows down quite a bit. Just plan it like this.
It happened recently.
No, I'm just saying in terms of itinerary planning, don't plan saying, okay, so there is a 120 kilowatt charger, so I can charge at max speed. So I will just basically park, take a 25-minute break and I'll get a car at 80%. If you're the only person there, sure, absolutely will work out. But are you going to be the only person there? You can't guarantee it, so have a little bit of latitude.
As we spend more time with cars like this, I think you also have to understand the mindset that you have to be in, because it happened to me the other day. I was charging an EV and there was another vehicle connected to the same charger, and the charging speed was much lower. As soon as that car got done, my charging speed went up. And because we were testing, I wanted to get it charged up to 100%. And the time it took to get from 80 to 100 was the same time it took me to get from 10 to 80.
Yeah. So Ather says that for their fast charge network straight away. They say we charge you $1 a minute, right? But $1 a minute actually is the rate up to 80%. From 80%, it still costs you ₹1 a minute. But each minute gives you half the charge into the battery. So effectively, if you were to go from 80 to 100 on the charger, you would spend the same amount of time as you would spend from 0 to 80.
Right. So, and that's the other side of this. This car, while it is easily the best Carens Clavis you can buy today, the question is, can you factor the EV side of it, the charging side of it into your life? If you can, great.
Yeah.
If you can't, then it will continue to be a stumbling block and one of the petrol or diesels will be a better pick for you.
Yeah, and I would not take this too seriously, because in my experience, if you were to be gifted a Kia Carens Clavis EV, for example, it's not like you wouldn't make the effort to figure out how to charge it and how to live with it. It's not impossible for anyone to figure out. What he's asking is, do you want to have this cool factor in your life for which you will have to put in some of this effort? Whereas for a petrol and diesel, maybe not so much cool factor, but much simpler process because you've done this before. But we will all get over that hump if we come to that situation, right? Now, range anxiety, not the same before you buy your first EV, completely different after you bought your first EV. Charging times and waiting at charging stations feels onerous before you buy your first electric. After you buy an electric and get used to that process, you factor it into how you travel, and then it doesn't seem to bug you like a year later or something. So these are not necessarily permanent deal breakers.
Yeah.
But they can feel like big deal breakers at the start. Just say, I have to commit to this and I will work this out, and you will.
And so if you look at the highway use case scenario, I think if you're purely traveling on the highway, this car is something that you can look at as a 330, 350 kilometer range, which is not insignificant.
No, it's plenty. You'll get tired of sitting in the car for that long, because by Google Maps averages, which are fairly accurate for most highways for average drivers, that's 7 hours in the car.
Yeah. So you can travel with it. What you need to factor in is your charging. And if you're somebody who's traveling regularly and want an EV, this is something you'll have to work with. And if you're in city scenarios, we expect this to be better, which means closer to 400, but that is something we will see when we test the car here. But all in all, for this size, of battery pack. And I think this is also an evolution of where we are as consumers. We used to think a 300 solid, and now we're saying this is a 300 solid range is sorted. But now we're at that point where we're saying we want a 400 solid, right? Which is 400, no questions asked. In that regard, they do have a range display, which is quite nice because it gives you 3 levels. One is a minimum, which says no matter what,
you will get this far.
You will get this, which is, let's say, 170 kilometers. And you're like, wow, that's low. But that means, come what may, you'll get 170 kilometers. And then there's the realistic range, which will be 300, something like that. And then it provides a third range. Like I have one image like where I think the range added above that was another 90 kilometers if you switch off the air conditioning. So that's the third level that they provide.
Yeah, that sounds like hedging, man. Come on.
But I think the two primary figures give you a good sense of confidence because you have this minimum which says that if you're driving just hard, that you'll at least cover this. And then there is the realistic range.
Too much hedging.
What would you like?
Just predict range and be reasonably accurate about it and it's fine.
Yeah, and I think they are doing that. This is, I mean, in normal drive scenarios, I think it's working well, the range prediction that they are.
I'm not saying that it's not working well or well. I'm saying this is just too much hedging and too much worrying about range anxiety, which we know. Once you bought your electric, you don't worry about it so much.
Once you spend time with it.
Yeah. So you're basically hedging a thing that is not actually an issue. I'm not sure that this is a good idea. It's like when we started testing our electric scooters and our the action short route that we take is 84 kilometers. The first couple of times we were worried and we took shortcuts, but we sort of found a balancing no matter what electric vehicle is coming in. If I do this on the way there and if I do that on the way there, more or less we'll make it back. And we failed, what, 2 times? 300 meters from the office once and 1 kilometer from the office once. If you're going to continue to put fear in their minds by saying, look, your minimum range is 170, I don't know that this is required.
No, I think it's the other way around actually, because this is giving confidence to people.
No, I don't think so. No. I disagree. I'm saying
because,
this is...
see, you are testing, you are familiar, you're talking...
I'm saying people will get there once they buy the EV. They don't need this unnecessary red warning. They're saying, oh, minimum.
So again, so this is not something that is in your face. If you choose to explore, it is available. So it's not a... Anyways, so it's I think it's a good tool to set people, give them some confidence when they're starting off. Okay, with that done, what else is there to talk about with this? The obvious comparisons that you can make with, let's say, the Creta or on the other.
No, let's compare it to the other electric MPVs, please.
Right. So there is one other MPV, which is the BYD E-MAX 7. Right. E-MAX 7 is not as good a 7-seater. It's actually a bigger car, but it's not as good a 7-seater. But what the BYD E-MAX has is a larger battery. Even their lower spec variant has a larger battery. And there's a higher spec which has an even bigger battery. So the range that the E-MAX 7 can offer you is greater.
Right.
But the E-MAX 7 is not going to be as good in the second row or in the third row. Although the E-MAX 7 does get captain seats.
Got it.
Right? So, yeah, that's...
High Cross?
High Cross.
You said on Ask Motoring that it is the car that to you is like the ideal one to travel with your family or whatever, right?
100%.
So High Cross.
Yeah. High Cross is even bigger. So space and...
More expensive also, obviously.
Yeah, that's 30. I mean, that'll be 32 something lakhs.
If you can buy
33, 30. I think now it's okay. So that is the variant that is... I mean, that is the vehicle that is even larger, even better for travel. And of course, being a strong hybrid, you get a lot of economies because of that. But obviously, the running costs are not going to be as low as this. But the thoughtlessness with which you can travel in it is going to be...
But you will not get to see the beautiful sights of charging stations in the process, which I think you're totally missing out on if you have a High Cross.
And when you were talking about the EV and what you said was the coolness factor. I think the thing with the Carens, I find, is not the coolness factor of it, but the reason you'd want one is the sense of sophistication of driving. And not just the driving experience, but the calmness of the cabin, the tune for the suspension. It feels like a polished product.
Yeah, no, I meant coolness in the sense of how EVs are today and how they're being glammed up with these gimmicks and features and loaded up and all of that. Is basically to say it's cool to have an EV. And look, in an EV, you can do so many of these things that you won't be able to do in an ICE or whatever as a sort of carrot, right?
And imagine we've come so far down this journey. We I think briefly spoke about it in the Harrier thing also, that the gimmicks are becoming such a large part of the story, and features, throwing stuff in. Like the Koreans were famous for adding equipment in.
Correct.
And we've come to a point where the Koreans have done nothing with the
Yeah.
EVs that are on sale today, right? They may do something in the future. We don't know, because there'll be all new EVs coming. But they are the ones who are saying, we have not packed stuff into this.
Correct.
This is just a car. This has got the same stuff as the ICE. There are no special features in this. There's nothing more to add in this, and that's it. It's such a weird place, because they were the ones who started this arms race of equipment
Yeah, they
and
did.
cool stuff.
Yep.
But this is just like, it's Carens Clavis that happens to be EV, and
Yeah, it's both how Hyundai as a brand was established and Skoda as a European brand was established, was both on the back of lots of gimmicks, features, and
Skoda also gimmicks.
Skoda also did features, not gimmicks as much as, but at the time when a car would have 3 features, the equivalent price Skoda would have like 10. And when they had a 3-year warranty, they would have 10. So that they built out the value equation also. Some of it was features and gimmicks.
Richer experience, I think, in that case. But the solidity, I think, was that.
Yeah, but they're competing with the Europeans at that point of time, and let's say in a market like UK, just to take a right-hand drive market. But there,
Actually, you're talking about globally.
yeah, so I'm saying both brands, effective startup strategies were very similar in that sense. Pack the car in with more.
On a global level.
Keep the prices the same, increase the warranties,
Right.
reduce service, etc., and create a more powerful package.
Correct.
Quick summary?
Yes, sir.
All right. Today we're talking about the Kia Carens Clavis electric vehicle. What you should know is, in terms of how this car is organized, it's extremely almost identical to the ICE versions of the Kia Carens Clavis. So if you were thinking that there'd be a lot of additional gimmicks or features and all of that, Kia has been very restrained about it. The Clavis was already a lavish, comfortable, sleek MPV experience for a 7-seater. This remains more or less the same. Karthik had a few fears that like on the Creta to Creta electric transition, the floor rose a little bit. On the face of it, not a big difference, but when you spend time in the car, you suddenly realize that you're feeling a little squished because under thigh support, etc. changes. He's very happy to report that Kia has one-upped Hyundai on this front, and the floor has risen only by a centimeter. So your fundamental feelings about this cabin, vertically and horizontally, remain roughly the same. And what that means is you get 3 individually comfortable rows that you can sit in. What you don't get is the option of buying captain seats on the Kia Carens Clavis EV. The Maruti Ertiga XL6, whatever, that car does sell a few captain seat models, but Kia says their offtake on the Carens line for captain seat is so low that they've not done it. They said if there is substantial demand, then in the future there could be a Carens Clavis EV version with captain seats. Apart from this, everything remains the same, but what is really impressive about the car is that Karthik thought the Carens Clavis petrol felt a little bit harsh, sporty if you want to imagine it like that, whereas the diesel was altogether a lot more plush and therefore maybe less responsive but a lot more comfortable for a 7-member family out on the road. What is really surprised by is the electric comes and sits right bang in the middle. So the handling, it's predictable, it's trustworthy, it's even responsive in its own laid-back 7-seater MPV way. Happy. But the ride quality is neither as plush as the diesel nor as, let's call it feedbacky as the petrol. So it's also sitting right in the middle and doing a fantastic job of it. So overall, he was really happy to drive this car. In terms of range, we drove the top model of this car, which has a 51 kilowatt hour battery pack, NMC. And this battery pack is easily going to give you 350, 360 out on the highway. You could get that up to about 400 in the city. The range display is reasonably accurate. And Kia also gives you Karthik's favorite new feature, which is the minimum range display, which means no matter what you do in this car in terms of how badly you choose to drive it, at least that much kilometerage you will certainly get out of this car. I completely disagree with this feature. Let me just make a point of that. Now, home charger is a 7 or a 10 kilowatt home charger.
11.
7 and 11, sorry. The home chargers are 7 and 11 kilowatts, but the difference between them is just 8,000 rupees or something. So you might as well get the 11 kilowatt charger. And out on the highway, fast charging, the Kia has the same fast charging as the Creta in theory does, which is 100 kilowatts. Creta had said 50 kilowatts at the start and 100 kilowatts will get unlocked. I'm not sure if it's been unlocked or not, but that's what the Clavis EV comes with. That's the story of this car. The prices Karthik has not actually told us, so we'll wrap up this summary and get to the prices and then questions from circles. Apart from this, easy car to drive, impressive car to drive, very quiet cabin, everybody will be comfortable, boot space is reasonable, you can drop one or both of the third row seats down to increase boot space. It's always been a good and impressive MPV, continues to be. The electric improves the experience while, surprise, keeping it feeling like a completely normal Kia Carens Clavis EV, and that's the big difference. A lot of EVs sort of leap out of the normal and become gimmicky and flashy and sleeker and larger screens and all of that. Karthik is a little bit surprised that outside of some aerodynamic work outside, it feels completely like a normal Clavis EV. Now here's a trick. Hyundai and Kia do compete with each other on one-upping each other. So while this car has roughly the same battery pack and roughly the same motor, Kia says their optimization is superior. So they are giving away, say, half a second to 60 or 100 kmph in terms of performance, but they're getting more range out of the same battery pack. So the Kia guys are like, haha, showed you. And now we'll see if the Hyundai guys up the Creta game, because whatever optimizations Kia has done, Hyundai is not going to get it easily for sure. That's the quick summary of the car. He's very impressed, and now that he's so impressed, I can't wait to see this car come to the office and do a view story.
So you said the price. The premium for this at the top spec variant is about 3 lakh rupees.
Over the?
Turbo petrol, dual clutch, automatic. Right?
Got it.
So it's a 3 lakh premium for going EV.
So they're charging me 3 lakh rupees more and not giving me a dual clutch transmission.
And to put this in context, right, that is about 25 lakh rupees. And for that same price, you can get a Harrier EV today, which will be the mid-spec that we spoke about last time, the Fearless Plus with the 75 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which means a much larger car, albeit 5-seater, with more performance and more stuff in it. So this looks like poor value.
Got it.
If you say, just look at it on paper, that you say that this is expensive, I get it. But I think when you drive it and you see, and this is what I find as unflashy and let's say unremarkable, the Creta and the Clavis EV are. They have a sense of surety about them, saying that this will just work.
Right.
I don't have to think twice about it. And if something were to not work, you have these brands which are just going to fix it and get me my car back. That is what I expect from them. And that baseline is what gives you that sense of saying that, yeah, this can just be my family car. And that's the beauty of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions from circles?
Yes, sir, please.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you will keep hearing this term question from circles. These are questions that people are asking us on MotorInc Circles, which is sort of like a small social media network within the app. The app is free. Circles is free to use. And we answer those questions. But sometimes these videos become really long and then they don't come to YouTube with the questions from circles. If you want to see those, you will have to watch MotorInc First on the app. It's free to watch there too, but the videos will be longer, sometimes as much as 20 to 30 minutes longer. And now I'm going to open the app and see what people are asking about the Carens. Right? That's
Cool.
it. What's
All
next? What fancy electric vehicle are you driving up Nandi Hills next?
I hope it's just an ice. I'm ready for an ice. There've been EVs. Now, some ice would be good.
What are you driving next?
Nothing fixed as of now. We do have something happening from Maruti in the middle of September.
Celerio facelift.
No. This might very well be the EV.
Don't you think we need the Celerio facelift? Please tell us in the comments.
In the meantime, Renault has launched the facelifted Trigo. And that's a car that I'm very interested to drive. I think it's a very admirable package, but we have no news on whether Renault is doing a drive, whether the cars will come on test, but I'm looking forward to driving that and we'll figure that out.
Nice.
What else?
No, that's it. We're done. We're done here.
All right. Cool.
I'm riding some bikes, but we'll talk about that in the next episode of MotorInc First. If you have any questions about the Kia Carens Clavis EV, do leave us a comment, preferably on the app. It's where it's easiest to track the comments and respond to them. But you can also, of course, contact us on YouTube, on Instagram, and Twitter in that order of how likely you are to get a response. But we do respond to almost every single comment we've got. As far as the app goes, don't worry about it. MotorInc First is free to watch. The app itself is free to download, and signing up is completely free. So you should be able to watch this episode, interact with other members of MotorInc fam, and get the answers that you're looking for easily. Until the next time, see you. Thank you so much for watching.